Alright guys, so today we are going to be doing CHING number 109. So let's just get started. Our first item is a Bratz doll. This one was kind of dressed up like a pirate. She sold for $29.99 and she did come from a yard sale, and I think I paid about $2 or $3 for her. I also sold a NASCAR Bill Elliott hat for $19.99. This came from an auction. At one point Eric had won a tray full of Bill Elliott hats at the auction, and a lot of them did sell. Next we have a vintage, this was probably from the 70s, a ceramic zodiac ashtray. So it was like an astrological ashtray with like the zodiacs all around it. That sold for $39.99. I think I picked that up at an auction. I do like to pick up anything astrology related or zodiac related, depending on what it is, obviously. Like the more unique the better type of thing, but a lot of people do collect that type of those types of items, so I do like to pick them up when I see them, which I feel is kind of rare. Like I don't come across them very often. Next we have, this was by Unesco. It was a little sugar bowl. Her name was Prunella Pig. She sold for $19.99, and I think I got her either at a yard sale or a flea market. I just kind of fell in love with the look of it. It definitely had that kitschy look, and that is super popular right now. Just the weirder the better, and I've always loved that kind of stuff, so when I see it and if I'm drawn to it, I just know there's someone else out there who will feel the same way that I do, so that's why I pick that kind of stuff up. Next we have, this was actually a taxidermy squirrel. Eric had won this at an auction. Sometimes they do have taxidermy type items at the auction, and those do sell really well. This sold for $149.99. There's a lot of people out there who, you know, like to decorate their man caves, and, you know, they're just basements and stuff like that in like a hunting theme or just like wildlife and that type of thing. I know I have an uncle who is like that, but his is deer, not necessarily squirrels. But yeah, taxidermy stuff can sell really well. I sold an Avon Perceive for Men cologne. This sold for $9.99, and that did come from an auction. I also sold a cobalt blue glass cat on a nest candy dish. That sold for $29.99. That did come from a yard sale, and I'd say I paid maybe $2 for it. I also sold a Saints Row double pack. This was an Xbox 360 game, so it had 2 of the Saints Row games on it, or in it, and that sold for $58.99, so that one was a good video game. And Eric won that at an auction. Next item did go to a subscriber named Kathleen. This was for one of my Catherine Lily White Halloween ornaments, and this one was of a cat wearing a sweater. That sold for $9.99, and that came from the ladies' sale that I had purchased a bunch of Halloween items from. I also sold a lady bud vase. I couldn't figure out much about this item. I was assuming it was like a bud vase. She had a hole on the top of her head, like you could stick something down into it. I found that at a yard sale, and I think it was only like a quarter, so I just decided to buy it because I thought it was so unique and interesting. And it did sell for $12.99. I'm actually surprised Amelia hasn't come into my room and went picked up. I don't know where she is. Probably, if I were to guess where she is right now, she is laying at the top of the stairs, just like this, looking down the steps. She used to do that all the time when she was a puppy, and like she wasn't able to go down the steps herself. Like she would just lay there longingly, like, I can't wait for the day that I can just run down these steps myself. And she can now, but she still lays like that. I don't know, she's funny. I also sold a, oh, this one was a good one. This was by Lillian Vernon. It was a Halloween pyramid. So they call these things pyramids. I say they're more like carousels carousels, all wooden made. This one was not German made, but typically when you see these, they are German made. But this one was Halloween themed, which made it that much more cooler in my opinion, because typically when you see them, they're Christmas themed, and this one was Halloween. I found this at an auction and I did win it. It sold for $199.99, so that one was a good sale. I also sold, oh, this one was good too. This one was for an old antique bisque doll. It was by a company called Kramer and Reinhardt, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, and it was dressed up in like a little Scottish type of outfit. I did win this at an auction, and I know I didn't pay a whole lot for it, and I was pleasantly surprised when I looked it up. It sold for $137.50. I don't know a ton about antique type of dolls. I'm naturally drawn to them because I like them. A lot of them, I guess some people maybe would consider them to be creepy or whatever, but I love that kind of stuff. And back when I was younger, I wanted like a creepy doll collection. Like that was like what I yearned for in life, was a creepy doll collection. I remember going to the antique stores with my mom and dad, and I would always try and find like the saddest, creepiest looking doll in the store and buy it, and then I typically resold it anyway, so I never really got a chance to collect because I always just sold everything I bought. But that's just a little backstory. But yeah, I love dolls. Not even just antique dolls, like I love dolls, period. I also sold, and this was by Eden. It was a pink terry cloth plush doll that sold for $39.99. I like picking up these Eden plushes. Some of them can sell really, really well, like even more than $40. It just depends on the plush. The coloring matters. A lot of people love those like primary colors. A lot of people like the pastel colors. Like it just depends. But anytime I see an Eden tag on a stuffed plush, I buy it. Next I have a vintage Jeanette. You guys have to correct me in the comments. It was a body powder that's over $69.99, and I think that came from a yard sale. I also sold a set of brass lion head drawer pulls for $39.99. Eric won these at an auction, I do believe. I also sold a Coach purple patent leather purse for $22.99. That did come from a yard sale. That one took a while to sell. Coach is a very hit or miss brand. Some items that I get that are Coach can sell quick and sell for a lot of money, and then other items just don't have that same resale value. So it just totally depends. So I am a little particular when I pick it up. So if I saw this one again out in the wild, I don't know if I would pick it up this time. Next couple of items went to a subscriber named Sandra. She went on a little shopping spree. So she had purchased a Bath & Body Works 3-wick candle in the scent Tokyo Petals that sold for $49.99. That is a discontinued fragrance. Smelled absolutely amazing. I did pick that up, I'm pretty sure, at a yard sale. I can't say no to candles. I have an extensive candle hoard, and I'm not embarrassed by that. I feel like candles are something that it doesn't matter if you have a lot of them, because what if one day you lost electricity or whatnot? It happens. You know, I'm prepared. I feel like I'm prepared for it. So I don't feel bad for having a hoard of candles. She also purchased a lot of 4 Avon Footworks foot cream for $25.99, and those did come from an auction. I had won a bunch of Avon stuff at one point at an auction. Same with the next 2 items, was for a lot of Avon blush sticks that sold for $29.99. They came from the same auction. She purchased a Benefit lip gloss from me for $9.99, and that was mine. I had never used it. She also purchased an Avon Sheer Light Peach lipsticks, a set of 2 of those for $10.99. They came from the same Avon auction. And the last thing that she purchased was for a set of 4 Yves Rocher shower gels that sold for $12.99, and those either came from a yard sale or maybe a fill-a-bag rummage sale. I can't exactly remember where I picked those up. Next item was for a Marvel Ghost Rider toy. This one was a real surprise. Eric and I stopped at a yard sale, and it was a lady and her young son. And, you know, it was mainly just like his clothing and a couple toys. And typically when we come across those yard sales, sometimes Eric and I will be like, drive by, and like we won't even stop if it doesn't seem like there's a whole lot to look at or it just doesn't seem promising type of thing. But you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do what we sometimes do. You should never drive by a yard sale, regardless of how it looks from the car, because we were debating on stopping at this one, and we got out and we looked around, and Eric picked up this toy, and it was huge. This huge Ghost Rider toy, and Eric looked it up, and lo and behold, like he was seeing like just the motorcycle, just the figure selling for like a ton of money. We sold it for $164.99, and I'm pretty sure we paid like $5 for it. So that was a great score. Glad we got out of the truck that day. Next we have a Halloween figure. This was by a company called Blossom Bucket. It was like an ornament, I do believe, and it said spiders, spelled out spiders. That sold for $15.99, and that came from the same sale of the lady where I purchased a bunch of her Halloween stuff. I also sold, this was really cool. This was an ice bucket shaped like a deep sea diving helmet. Really awesome. It gave me major like BioShock vibes. If you guys have ever played that video game, it's personally one of my favorite video games. Speaking of video games, Eric had just purchased the Hogwarts Legacy video game for me, so I started playing that yesterday, and I absolutely love it. So, but yeah, this ice bucket helmet we won at an auction. There was like a bunch of barware there that day, and this ice bucket sold for $189.99. Super cool piece. We also sold a Green Bay Packers triple fat goose coat. Purchased this one at a yard sale, and the lady, I feel like the lady's husband had passed away recently, and you know, we were talking to her, and she was saying how big of a Green Bay Packers fan that he was, and she was trying to like clear out the closets and that type of thing. Oddly enough, I have like a vanity, like one of these vanity mirrors like sitting here that I use to put on my makeup, and my light just randomly turned on and off. I have no idea. That's kind of weird. And anyways, he was a big Green Bay Packers fan, and she was trying to clear out the closets, and she said he had a lot of these, like, you know, like the big fat goose feather down, you know, jackets that take up a lot of space and that type of thing. And I think this one still had the tags on it. I think she had said that it was either too small or too big for him. I can't remember. But we paid $20 for it. She was asking $20, and we asked her, you know, if, you know, she wanted any more than that, because obviously these coats are super expensive. It still had the tag on for like hundreds of dollars, and she said no, she just wants to clear stuff out. So she took $20 for it, and it sold for $350. So that was a really good sale. And it was nice to talk to her too, because, you know, whenever someone who, like, we're out and about and we're talking, and someone like mentions, you know, that they had a loved one that passed away, it's like, I completely understand all of the feels that they are feeling, and it's nice to talk to people who, you know, have been through the same thing or feeling the same types of grief feelings. It's nice to talk about that stuff with other people who, you know, understand. Next item we have was for a DVD set. This was called The 100 Years of Horror. It had 5 discs in it. It sold for $19.99. That came from, it was kind of an estate sale. We went into someone's house, and I don't know if they were moving or what, but they had like a whole room filled with just DVDs and CDs, and we probably could have spent like all day in there like scanning stuff, but we just were not feeling it. It was so hot in that room and we just were not in the mood. So we just picked up a couple pieces and left. So don't be like us. Just bear through it, because we probably just left a lot of money laying, but it's okay. Sometimes you just have to spend your time doing something else other than sourcing and robotically scanning barcodes on DVDs and CDs, which is not stuff that I sell a lot of to begin with. Next we have a cast iron bowl-shaped coin bank. Eric picked this up at a yard sale. It sold for $64.99, and I think he paid $10 for it. I remember this yard sale because we stopped and it was a lot of like antique-y type of things. The man's prices were on the expensive side, but you know, it was kind of like prices that you would see like if you had gone to like a booth in an antique store. So not totally crazy, especially for collectors. But I remember specifically it was where I found that little recipe wooden stamper, and I purchased it. And then when we left, and Eric was like, oh, I probably should have bought that bowl coin bank. And I was like, well, why didn't you? I was like, you better turn around and go back. So we turned around and went back and got it. And it sold. So I'm glad that we went back. But it was one of those things where it's like, I was ready to go to the next sale, and here we are backtracking. That happens a lot. Next we have a Mary Kay perfume in the scent Angel Fire. This was a discontinued fragrance. That's over $69.99. I can't think off the top of my head if this one was new in the box or if it didn't have a box. But I'm probably going to be saying in a lot of these CHINGs until I get caught up to my most recent one that, you know, eBay's used perfume policy is not the same anymore. You can only list new with the box perfume where the ingredients are shown. And if you try to list in the collectibles category under used, your bottle has to be completely empty of fluid. You can't sell used perfume in the collectibles category or the regular perfume category on eBay anymore. So if you see me having sales of that, these are older sales. Just want to make that clear. Next item to go to a subscriber named Karen. This was for a this is from 1936. It was called a cackling hen noisemaker. That sold for $12.99. It made like the coolest, it sounded like a hen sound. That came on a flat of stuff that we had won at the auction. I feel like I have one more of these that I haven't listed yet. I swear I do, downstairs. Next item was for a snowman face, just little decor piece that sold for $12.99. Can't remember exactly where I picked that one up. Oh, this next item was for a porcelain doll by Hamilton Collection. And I don't typically pick up porcelain dolls. A lot of them don't really have much resale value. But this one here, her name was Amelia, so I was automatically drawn to it for that purpose. And then she also had these crazy green glowing eyes. I think like over time, some of these older porcelain dolls, like whatever they use, like paint or whatever to make some of the eye colors, like over time, I don't know, like something happened where like the coloring changed or something like that. Like they weren't specifically made this way to begin with. It's just something that I guess happens over time, which makes it even creepier in my opinion. Won that at an auction and it sold for $35. And I feel like I only paid like $1 for it because, you know, people tend to stay far away from porcelain dolls, but this one had something unique about it, and that is why I took it. And it was, I think, close to Halloween when I purchased that. Same with this next item. This was for a Graveyard Gary. It was a fiber optic skeleton that sold for $39.99, and that also, I think, came from the same auction where I purchased that Amelia doll and that Halloween pyramid from earlier. I sold a set of Bakelite corn cob holders for $69.99. These were still in their original box. Those actually came from a flea market, and I'm pretty sure the lady wanted $10 for them, which I thought was a fair price because, you know, a lot of people do collect Bakelite items, and these were still in their original box, had never been used, that type of thing. So we went ahead and purchased them, and they sold pretty quickly. Sold a vintage hobgoblin candle for $39.99. This was a really cool, it was a glass candle. It still had like the wax in it and everything. That I think came on a tray of stuff that we had won at an auction. Here's another Coach purse. This one was for a pink Hampton purse. That one sold for $45.99. So sold for more than that purple one from earlier. That also came from a yard sale. I sold a Polaroid instant camera with film. That sold for $39.99, and that one did come from an auction. I sold a pair of witch boots. These were just like a cloth vintage style, had that primitive type of look to them. Witch boots for $19.50. Those did come from a yard sale. Next item also came from a yard sale. This was for a Hallmark witch's hat door decoration. It was brand new, still in its original packaging. That sold for $59.99, and I think I paid about $3 for it. You can tell this was around Halloween because there's a lot of Halloween stuff in here. Next we have a pair of Muay Thai gloves. Again, if I'm pronouncing that right, I don't know. They were by a company called Windy. They were boxing Muay Thai gloves. Those sold for $54.99, and those came from an auction, and I think we paid maybe $3 or less for them. So that was a good brand. And next we have a Five Nights at Freddy's Fazbear plush that sold for $99.99. That came from an auction on one of the trays of Five Nights at Freddy's plushies we had won. The trays that just keep on giving. I don't have a whole lot of the plushies left, but I do have a few. I sold a vintage Carter's diaper bag for $59.99. I picked this up at Goodwill, and I think I paid $2.99 or $3.99 for it. I also sold a set of 3 rabbits. These were by Arthur Shoemaker. These came from an auction, and you guys haven't seen my next auction footage yet, but we purchased a ton more Shoemaker pieces, so they will be shown in, you know, an upcoming auction footage and haul videos. So they sell really well. Same with the next one. This was also another Shoemaker piece. He just did a lot of wood carved figures and things like that. This one was of a snowman, and that's over $250. Next we have a talcum powder by a company called Peck Sniffs. That's over $12.75, and that came from a yard sale. I also sold a pair of vintage from the 60s pantyhose by a company called Fleta. Those sold for $10.99. They came from a yard sale. I sold a 1978 Sun Lovin' Malibu Barbie for $69.99. That was new in its original packaging, and that did come from an auction. I also sold a pair of Dansko lace-up clogs. We found these at a yard sale. We had never seen, typically when we find Danskos, they're just like the slip-on like clog style, but these actually had laces, looked a little bit more like sneakers. Those sold for $69.99, and like I said, they did come from a yard sale. I sold a Halloween black cat figure for $25.99. And the last thing for this cha-ching was a pair of roller derby brand roller skates that sold for $49.99, and those did come from a yard sale. So that is everything for this cha-ching. I typically do around 50 things. I feel like that gives me a fairly lengthy video, but not like super duper long. So that is everything for this CHING, which I think I already just said. I feel so lonely without Amelia here. Amelia! Oh, here she is. I found her. Here she came. She came, yes. Say hi. Say hi to everybody. She's like, I need a haircut. Yes, you do. Last time we had her at the groomer, we didn't have a whole lot taken off of her since it's been chilly. Just to, you know, have her have, you know, a decent warm coat on her. But next time we go, we'll probably shave her down, because it hasn't really been, like, we'll have some cold days, but for the most part, it hasn't been too crazy this winter, which is kind of nice. But yeah, that's everything for this video. I don't think I really have much to talk about as far as eBay is concerned. I do feel like this week, it's the week of Super Bowl. Super Bowl's on Sunday, and you know, tax season is upon us, and I figured, you know, people would be looking to spend money since like they're getting taxes back. I don't get taxes back. I always have to pay in. But you know, I figured, you know, maybe some people would be you know, wanting to shop, but I feel like this week has been kind of slow as far as sales go, which, you know, it happens. Just got to keep on listing and that type of thing. So I'm not overly concerned at the moment, but I definitely feel like there has been a slight drop in sales this week. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. You'll have to let me know what you thought down in the comments, and we will see you next time. Say goodbye. Say bye. Bye bye. Oh yeah, so sweet.